Little did they know, their lives were about to be changed forever by a wicked queen.
Yeah.
Weird.
Bring me Snow White's heart in this box.
So we didn't do that this time.
What will I do with the rest of the body?
Put it in this box.
People will wait in line to see.
Oh my God.
But it's hard. And it's lonely. It's very lonely.
The internet didn't just react, it detonated. The moment that episode aired, social media felt like it had been set on fire with a match labeled Snow Woke the Reimagining. The Simpsons, a show famous for its biting satire, had just delivered one of its most ruthless parodies in years. And it wasn't vague, it wasn't subtle, it wasn't open to interpretation. This was a direct shot at Rachel Zegler, and the world knew it.
HDTV on the wall. Who's the fairest one of all?
A parody princess with a press junket monologue about leadership over love, a refusal to be rescued by a prince, and a movie so aggressively self-righteous it flopped right off the screen. It was all there. And if you were even remotely familiar with the real-life Snow White debacle, you didn't need a decoder ring to figure out who they were skewering.
Excuse me, your curtain. Please allow me to help.
Help? From you?
Clips flooded TikTok before the credits even rolled. Users posted side-by-sides of Rachel's infamous interview quotes, "The prince is a stalker. It's no longer 1937," right next to a cartoon princess droning on about dismantling patriarchal narratives while woodland creatures checked their watches. It wasn't just comedy, it was bloodsport, and it was hitting.
But Snow White's the fairest I have seen. Also, there's a weather girl on Channel 9 who's...
One Fox source even described it bluntly. We didn't have to invent much. We just watched the press tour. But what made this parody land like a bomb wasn't just that it mocked the performance. It mocked the persona, the version of Rachel Zegler the public had grown exhausted by. The girl boss archetype turned up to 11, smothered in lecture-ready soundbites and perceived condescension.
Spare me your white savior complex. I don't need anything from someone like you.
It was a cartoon, yes, but to millions it was also a mirror. Within hours, Rachel Zed was trending, but not for a movie or a new role or even a clapback. No, she was trending because one of the most iconic shows in history had effectively turned her into a joke. National satire, pop culture roast material, the kind of takedown you don't recover from easily. And the wildest part, Fox didn't blink. No retraction, no apology, no edits. They aired it, they stood by it, and they let the chaos unfold. And for Rachel, that's when the silence began.
What would you say to those who are just kind of overly critiquing the film at this point? You've worked so hard on it.
Hold on.
All right.
Behind the scenes, things reportedly got ugly. According to insiders, the moment Rachel Zegler saw clips from the Simpsons episode, she didn't just get upset, she allegedly lost it. One source described her as genuinely shaken, pacing and shouting in disbelief as she watched the parody unfold across every screen and social feed. She wasn't laughing, she wasn't brushing it off. She was furious, and she wanted it gone. Allegedly, she called her reps immediately, not just to vent, but to act. Hard, fast, desperately. Multiple insiders claim she instructed her team to contact Disney, Fox, even the producers of The Simpsons directly. The ask? Simple on paper. Pull the episode, or at least scrub the character that was clearly, a little too clearly, based on her.
And this bit is just like the first one. Also too hard.
But what she got in response might have been the moment she realized she'd lost control of the narrative. One Fox insider reportedly put it like this: "The episode's locked. It aired. It's satire. We're not pulling anything." Translation? You don't get to edit The Simpsons after the punchline lands. And that's when Rachel went quiet, but not because she wanted to. Allegedly, her team scrambled to figure out next steps. Some sources say calls were made behind closed doors, a quiet inquiry from Disney, a courtesy check-in from a top agent. One unverified account even claims a high-level Disney exec gently suggested the portrayal might have gone too far. Fox's response? Polite, but firm. No edits, no apologies, no conversation. Meanwhile, Rachel's camp, according to whispers, was in damage control mode. There was talk of issuing a vague statement, maybe a tweet about handling criticism, maybe a tongue-in-cheek post to reframe the narrative. But ultimately, they chose silence.
I can also be having the greatest time and simultaneously wishing people would stop sending me death threats.
Which, in a world obsessed with reaction, didn't read as power. It read as panic. And here's the twist. Her silence only made the story louder. People started asking, why isn't she saying anything? Is Disney keeping her quiet? Is she afraid of making it worse? Or did that episode hit so hard, there was simply no comeback available? Because when satire turns you into a punchline, sometimes the loudest response is no response at all. Let's be honest, The Simpsons didn't just poke fun. They surgically dismantled Rachel Zegler's public image. And the reason the parody hit so hard, it didn't have to reach. It just reflected. The cartoon princess in Snow Woke.
Are there any dwarves in your story?
Yes, but they're my own original creation.
The reimagining wasn't some random exaggerated jab. She was Rachel, filtered through yellow skin, a press tour scowl, and a script dripping in smugness. Scene after scene mirrored the exact criticisms that have haunted Zegler since her Snow White press tour began. The parody princess storms into a press junket, derails every question with monologues about equity and dismantling patriarchy, calls the prince a toxic archetype, and deadpans to the camera, "I'm not here to be loved, I'm here to lead." Sound familiar? Because to the internet, it was too familiar. This wasn't a roast built on fantasy. This was built on footage.
It's not funny, Bart. Millions of girls will grow up thinking that this is the right way to act.
Real quotes, real tone, real posture, and that's what made it brutal. The writers didn't need to stretch the truth. They just needed to watch TikTok, and it kept going. The premiere scene, devastating. Red carpet, cameras, flashing lights, and not a single audience member inside the theater. One lonely guy claps, mutters, "I miss the old princess," and leaves. The movie within the episode flops spectacularly, just like real life. Then comes the final blow, Rachel Z melting down on Krusty's Late Show, screaming at the crowd for misunderstanding her genius, before tripping over a pile of banned fairy tale books she previously labeled problematic. It's not just a gag, it's a replay of everything that turned audiences off in the first place.
I just mean that it's no longer 1937, and we absolutely wrote a Snow White that is
not going to be saved by the prince.
She's not going to be saved by the prince, and she's not going to be dreaming about true love. She's dreaming about becoming the leader she knows she can be.
But here's what made it vicious. It didn't parody the character she played. It parodied the character she became in the public eye. Not Snow White, not Maria from West Side Story, but Rachel Z, the persona, the activist turned actress who seemed more interested in moral superiority than movie magic. And when The Simpsons reflected that back with a smirk and a laugh track, people didn't cringe, they nodded, because the truth behind satire is what gives it teeth. And this time, it bit down hard. When the episode ended, the internet roared. Reaction channels had a field day. TikTok edits multiplied like wildfire. You'd think Rachel Zegler would respond, right? Say something, anything, a tweet, a quote repost, maybe even a vague Instagram story about choosing peace or not feeding negativity. But instead, nothing. Radio silence.
I mean, you know, the original cartoon came out in 1937, and very evidently so.
She didn't just go quiet, she vanished, and that's what made everything louder. The moment Rachel disappeared from the conversation, the speculation exploded. Was she under a gag order? Was Disney scrambling to plug another PR leak? Or was this the first time Rachel truly didn't know what to say? Because this wasn't a YouTuber calling her out. This wasn't just another backlash clip. This was The Simpsons, and being mocked on a show that's taken down presidents, tech billionaires, and Hollywood elites? That doesn't feel like an insult. It feels like an obituary. Insiders claim the silence wasn't strategic. It was stunned. One source alleged she was shaken to her core, not just by the parody, but by how quickly it became the narrative.
There's a big focus on her love story with a guy who literally stalks her. Yeah. Weird.
She wasn't trending for anything new she did. She was trending for what everyone already believed. And The Simpsons didn't change minds. They confirmed them with punchlines. Meanwhile, behind the curtain, there were whispers of meetings. Her team reportedly debated damage control options. Should she address it with humor? Should she clap back? Should she do a sympathetic podcast interview and reclaim the narrative? Every option was floated. None were chosen. Why? Because when the world's most iconic cartoon turns you into a meme, no strategy sounds good. Not when every move risks making it worse. And so the silence stayed. No statements, no stories, no behind-the-scenes photos from set, just the eerie stillness of a public figure suddenly frozen out of her own story. But here's the thing about silence in Hollywood. It rarely reads as wisdom. It reads as retreat, and fans, they noticed.
Our rights are on the line, folks. Our reproductive rights.
Ugh.
Come on.
Go get Cheshire Cat.
Go vote blue. And if you disagree with this sentiment, just hit the unfollow button.
Where's Rachel became a real comment trend, not out of concern, but curiosity, as if the star of the drama had left the stage mid-scene. And whether she meant to or not, her disappearance didn't calm the storm. It confirmed it. As Rachel Zegler pulled back, Disney quietly followed suit. There were no press releases, no dramatic statements, just subtle disappearances. Her name started vanishing from upcoming promo schedules. Internal chatter hinted that any remaining plans involving her and Snow White were quietly shelved. One insider put it bluntly, "She's not touchable right now." Whatever marketing energy was left for the project was rerouted, fast. Visual effects, costumes, even Gal Gadot's villainous glam got the spotlight, but Rachel omitted, almost surgically, and fans noticed.
Ah, here we are. All that walking made me sleepy.
Trailers that once included her heavily were suddenly trimmed. B-roll montages stopped mid-smile. Even the official Disney Instagram, once filled with behind-the-scenes moments, had no new uploads featuring her. It wasn't a blackout, it was a fade. The kind studios use when they're done talking about you, but haven't quite said it out loud. Behind the scenes, Disney's silence spoke volumes. Some reports suggested they were blindsided by the Simpsons episode 2, not because of the content, but because of the timing. It hit just as they were scrambling to salvage any goodwill left for Snow White, and then boom, parody, punchline, viral disaster. The very image they'd been trying to protect was now being skewered on their own network, and that's where it gets awkward. Because yes, The Simpsons airs on Fox, but Fox is now under the Disney umbrella, which means this wasn't just a parody, it was an in-house roast.
I was scared of the original cartoon. I think I watched it once and then I never picked it up again.
And the fact that it aired uncut, unapologetic, that's the real tea. It suggests one of two things. Either nobody high up intervened, or worse, nobody wanted to. Some whispers even hint that Disney may have allowed it to go through, seeing it as a soft reset, a brutal way to signal a pivot, get the public to laugh, move on, and scrub the mess without issuing a single statement. Was it intentional? Hard to say, but the result? Effective. People weren't asking when Rachel would appear next. They were asking why she wasn't there at all. Because in Hollywood, distancing doesn't always come with fireworks. Sometimes, the most devastating message is nothing. It didn't take long for the industry to pick up on the shift. If Disney pulling back was a warning, Hollywood heard it loud and clear. Suddenly, Rachel Zegler wasn't just trending, she was a case study. PR firms across Los Angeles reportedly began using her trajectory as a cautionary tale in media training sessions. One leaked slide from a major agency's internal deck showed a still of The Simpsons parody, with a headline that read, "When authenticity becomes arrogance." Brutal, but very on brand for an industry that doesn't waste time sugarcoating red flags.
They cannot keep making dolls like this. Something has to be done.
Lisa, ordinarily I'd say you should stand up for what you believe in, but you've been doing that an awful lot lately.
Talent managers, casting directors, even social media consultants were allegedly revising their playbooks. Don't speak out too much. Don't get too online. And for God's sake, don't pick fights with the fairy tale fan base. Because Rachel's story wasn't just about backlash. It had morphed into a full-blown blueprint of how not to handle the spotlight. One Netflix producer reportedly told a showrunner, "We'll circle back once the air clears. She's still radioactive." And another studio, quietly developing a YA fantasy reboot, removed her from their shortlist entirely. Not because she couldn't act, not because she couldn't sing, but because she brought baggage. And in an era where fan perception directly impacts box office performance, no one wants to gamble on someone whose name might trigger eye rolls. Even within agencies, the mood changed. Insiders claim younger talent reps, once excited to pitch Zegler for fresh roles, started hesitating. One talent agent allegedly warned a rising actress, "Don't go full Zegler. The internet has a long memory." Harsh? Maybe. But in a business that runs on image and momentum, perception is currency. And right now, Rachel's account is overdrawn. The worst part? This wasn't about a scandal. No crime, no leaked footage, just a slow drip PR unraveling so persistent and public that it became its own spectacle. And in an industry fueled by optics, the new rule was clear. If The Simpsons can turn your press tour into parody, maybe you're not ready for a starring role. If The Simpsons fired the first shot, the internet picked up the grenade launcher.
You would do in a pinch, my queen. But Snow White's the fairest I have seen. Also, there's a weather girl on Channel 9 who's...
Within hours of the episode airing, social media didn't just react, it devoured it. TikTok flooded with side-by-sides of the parody and Zegler's real-life interviews, spliced so cleanly it was hard to tell which was satire and which was just her. The line that exploded the fastest? "I'm not here to be loved, I'm here to lead." Users branded it the final boss of girl bossing, and they weren't being generous. YouTube commentary channels jumped in like vultures at a feast. One video titled, "The Simpsons just did what Disney wouldn't," pulled in over 3 million views in 2 days. Another edit stitched the cartoon meltdown with Rachel's old press tour footage and ended it with a mock Oscars clip, her tearfully accepting a Razzie while Krusty the Clown slow clapped. It was merciless, and audiences couldn't look away. But just when you thought it had peaked, the internet did what it always does. It dug deeper. A previously debunked hoax made an ugly return. An AI-generated OnlyFans account falsely linked to Zegler began circulating again, rebranded and retweeted by people who either didn't know or didn't care that it was fake. Comment sections lit up with mock outrage, speculation, and way too many users pretending it was breaking news.
When I get married, I'm keeping my own name. That should probably be if I choose to get married.
The rumor had already been disproven, but in the chaos, it stuck anyway because truth wasn't the point anymore. The narrative was. Rachel Zegler had become a symbol of what people hated about modern Hollywood. Stars who seem more focused on rewriting legacies than respecting them. People weren't dissecting her roles anymore. They were dissecting her attitude, her tone, her online presence. And each time she stayed silent, that just became another punchline. Sympathy dried up fast. Even fans who once defended her started backing away. One viral comment summed up the vibe perfectly. The internet doesn't hate Rachel Zegler. It's just done giving her chances. And that's the most dangerous place for a celebrity to be. Not hated, but dismissed. Somewhere between the trending hashtags and the Simpsons reruns, something chilling started echoing through Hollywood. Don't do a Zegler. It wasn't a joke. It was a warning. A new industry shorthand for what happens when a rising star goes off script. Not in the performance, but in the persona. And just like that, Rachel Zegler wasn't just a headline. She was a handbook for how fast a promising career can become a PR minefield. Behind the scenes, studios allegedly began rewriting the rules. Press coaches updated training decks. Social media consultants started drawing hard lines. One Disney insider reportedly said, "We're telling talent to be seen, be likable, be safe, but above all, be quiet." Because if Rachel taught Hollywood anything, it's that one wrong quote can ignite a cultural wildfire, and one stubborn silence can burn down whatever's left. Executives now whisper her name not in green rooms, but in risk assessments.
My name is Stacy, but you can call me.
I see exactly what you mean. This is a problem. But what do you expect me to do?
Change what she says. It's your company.
Casting calls come with new filters. Talent must be media coachable, brand safe, low drama. One young actress who once idolized Zegler was allegedly told flat out by her team, "We're building your career in the opposite direction." Oof, the ripple effect isn't just hitting Rachel. It's hitting every outspoken Gen Z star with a Twitter presence and a political opinion. Suddenly, what was once considered bold and authentic is now flagged as unstable. PR teams aren't just promoting anymore, they're firefighting in advance. Can they stay off social media has become a real casting consideration. The vibe? Predictability over passion, marketability over messaging. And that's the part nobody wants to admit. Rachel Zegler might have had a point. About fairy tales needing updates, about women leading their own stories. But in the court of public opinion and the far more ruthless boardrooms of Hollywood, delivery matters. And she delivered her message in a way that left studios scrambling, not inspired. So now, the talent pipeline is shifting, not toward the loudest voices, but toward the safest bets. Because if the internet can flip on a Disney princess this fast, no one wants to be next in line for the parody treatment. Not that long ago, Rachel Zegler was the industry's chosen one, Spielberg's golden girl, the breakout star with the voice of an angel and the kind of charm you bottle for Oscar campaigns. When West Side Story dropped, she wasn't just a rising actress, she was the future, a new kind of leading lady, fresh, vocal, unapologetically Gen Z. Studios lined up. Scripts were written with her name already attached. Disney handed her Snow White, Marvel circled. She was, quite literally, the blueprint. And now, that blueprint is gathering dust. Because somewhere between the viral interviews, the defensive, tweets, and the total silence post-Simpsons, Rachel stopped being the moment and started becoming the example. Not of failure, not of scandal, but of what happens when the audience tunes out emotionally, when they stop rooting for you, when they feel like you're talking at them, not to them. Insiders say her name is quietly disappearing from development meetings. One Big 3 agency reportedly told a client, "If you see her name attached, pass. She doesn't bring heat, she brings noise." That's the brutal truth of Hollywood. Perception is everything. And perception says Rachel's no longer a box office asset. She's a PR gamble wrapped in TikTok backlash and trending sarcasm. It's not about talent. No one's questioning that. It's about the narrative. And Rachel hasn't just lost it. She let it spiral. Former collaborators are staying silent. Not a single big-name director has rushed to defend her. Not even a vague show of solidarity. Her fan base, still there, but quieter, tired, unsure of what they're even defending anymore. She hasn't done anything wrong, technically. And yet, she's become the face of a very specific fatigue, the kind people feel when stars seem more focused on clapping back than connecting. And that's what makes this fall so hard to watch, because it didn't have to go this way. Rachel didn't need to be perfect. She just needed to be present, humble, real, and maybe, just maybe, a little more aware of the moment she was standing in. Instead, she underestimated the audience. And now, the audience has moved on. So now we're here, one Simpsons episode, one meme supernova, and one career that feels like it's teetering on the edge of something nobody, not even Hollywood, knows how to define. Rachel Zegler isn't canceled. She isn't exiled. She's something more complicated, more unsettling. She's the star everyone's suddenly too nervous to stand next to, not because she failed, but because she flamed out in front of everyone, with perfect lighting and a press team watching from the wings. And here's the kicker. This didn't have to be her legacy. If there's one thing Hollywood loves more than a villain, it's a comeback. We've seen careers rise from ashes hotter than this, but the difference is, those stars fought. They responded. They took the hit and kept walking forward. Right now, Rachel Zegler isn't walking. She's waiting for the fire to die down, for the internet to forget, for the next controversy to swallow her name whole. But in this business, you don't get to disappear in hope. You have to own it, speak, reframe, show that you see what the world saw, even if it stung. Because if Rachel's going to come back from this, it won't be because she lands a clever cameo or sings her way into another musical. It'll be because she steps out of the PR shadow, looks the public in the eye, and says, "Yeah, I messed up, but I'm still here." And that's the question now, will she? Because the parody is permanent. The episode lives on, so does the silence. And in a world where narratives are currency, Rachel Zegler's account is frozen in time. The Simpsons didn't just mock her. They immortalized the version of her the audience already rejected. And unless she rewrites that image herself, that's the one that will stick. So what do you think? Did The Simpsons go too far? Or did they just say what millions were thinking? Is Rachel Zegler being unfairly dragged? Or is this the fallout from months of missteps? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Hit like if you think studios need to start listening to fans, not just headlines. And don't forget to subscribe for more no-fluff deep dives into Hollywood's most unfiltered stories. The next video on your screen is waiting, and trust me, you won't believe what's coming next.